Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast episode. I wanted to do a short podcast episode and introduce the next series of podcast episodes that I'm going to do on my book, Leadership Gems for Women. And I really talk about the leadership principles in this book that I wish I had known early in my career. You know, I was one of those people that I thought leadership is for the boss or the CEO of a company or the manager. And it's absolutely true. Those people do need leadership. But when we define leadership as influence, as John Maxwell defines it, then every single one of us need to be able to influence other people. And I know I've touched on that before, but so I wrote this book with the 30 characteristics that if we develop these in our lives, they can help us increase our influence and develop our leadership from wherever we are. They will help us in our community. They will help us in our professional relationships at work, in your career, or if you have your own business. It will help you in your personal relationships because leadership is influence and we all want the ability to influence others more effectively. So the next series that I'll be kicking off will really focus each week on one of the characteristics that will help you be more successful, more effective as a leader, as an influencer, as a woman leader influencer, because leadership is different from a female or a male perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. It just simply is different. And so we'll talk a lot about that as we go. You know, one of the questions that I'm asked is, well, are there more than 30 characteristics of successful women leaders? Well, sure, absolutely. But these are just the 30 that I thought were most important and most foundational to put in the book. So these are the 30 that I chose to put in the book. You know, I love to say that leaders are like diamonds, right? They're rare and they're formed under pressure and they're very valuable. So to me, leaders are certainly rare and formed under pressure and also very valuable, right? You never hear someone say we have too much great leadership. That's never a problem. It's always that we need more leaders. We need more leadership. So leaders are definitely rare and difficult to find. They are formed under pressure, right? Pressure can make us stronger. It can contribute to strengthening our character, to strengthening our ability to lead ourselves and others at a higher level. So I love that. The word diamond is from the Greek word adamas. And there again, meaning, you know, something that's valuable, rare, precious, and formed under pressure, just like a diamond. So I wanted to just kind of kick that off. You know, a lot of times I've touched on the fact that leadership and influence really comes down to our character. How we do what we do as a person is really what's determining our ability to influence others. Our level of leadership, if you will, is mostly determined by our character, who we are and how we do what we do. We don't always think about that, because a lot of times we're just going through the motion of the day, getting our work done or working on whatever it is that we need to be focused on at the time. But we don't think about how we go throughout the day and the intangible things that are really determining our level of influence. We don't always think about how we say what we say. We don't always think about how we do the things that we do, right? A lot of times we're just moving throughout the day. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that we're leaving so much more on the table in terms of increasing our influence. And you could see this in a couple of different situations. I mean, you could see this in a scenario, for example, if you're going to ask your boss for a raise, how you ask for that raise could determine a lot of whether you're going to be granted that raise, right? If you go in and just saying, hey, I'm working hard and need this raise, you may or may not get it. But if you go in and talk about your value and how you are trying to add value to the organization and becoming more valuable as a person, as a leader, as an influencer, as a team player, right? Because it's not asking for the raise. Then you're simply having a conversation about the value you bring to the table. Now, you still may or may not get the raise, but it's an entirely different perspective that you're presenting, and it allows you to have the conversation about your value, your worth as a employee in the organization, for example. And that's just one scenario, right? But you can easily see how you do what you do can change the outcome or can influence the outcome, right? Because there are a lot of variables in that scenario. But But certainly, one of the things Mac always says is don't ask for a raise, ask for more responsibility, and then you'll get the raise. And certainly that's true. So if you have that conversation about asking for responsibility, becoming more valuable, hey, what do you need from me? What else can I do to contribute? And if you go in with that conversation, the raise will follow either there or somewhere else, because you're focusing on becoming more valuable. I think maybe it's Zig Ziglar who said, don't focus on becoming a success, focus on becoming a person of value. And that really goes a long way toward increasing our influence with other people, the people around us, professionally and personally. If we're helping other people and adding value to them, then we become more valuable. And it's just one of the ways that can contribute to increasing our influence and developing our leadership. So we'll be digging a lot more into these principles over the next several weeks. The book has 30 chapters. I'm not going to be reading the book to you, certainly, but if you want to follow along with the chapter every week, you can certainly pick up a copy of the book. It's on the website, my website, riastoria.com, or Amazon. Of course, if you're a Prime member, you can get free shipping with Amazon Prime. And we'll just, be going through each of the characteristics. Leadership gems for women, 30 characteristics of very successful women. So I'm looking forward to drilling down a little bit more. Again, I'm not reading the book to you over the next several podcast episodes, but I want to share some thoughts that aren't in the book. I wrote this book a couple of years ago, and like anything, when we have written something or done something, published a book, I know I can look back and see how I've grown. So I have some different thoughts and maybe a different perspective on some things that aren't in the book. So I love to talk about those and share those, and also what I've learned since then. Since the book came out, I've had the opportunity to speak on this in quite a few different scenarios and different formats and conferences and groups and things like that, because I love to talk about the difference in leadership for men and women. And that's not a feminist perspective. It really is not. It's just a simple fact that women are different than men. Their leadership style is different than men. Women tend to be more nurturing. They tend to be more relational as a leader. And that can be a huge strength when it comes to leadership and influence, because leadership is built on relationships. Relationships are built on trust. And so being able to build trust with other people is huge when it comes to leadership and influence. And women just naturally do that a little more effectively. It's just simply a difference in, how we interact with other people. And there again, that doesn't mean all women are great leaders. Naturally, it doesn't mean that men can't be great leaders or aren't great leaders. It just means that women by nature tend to be a little more nurturing. But it's a man's world out there, right? A lot of women who are working, particularly in male-dominated industries, find that they get into that environment and are perceived as too soft. And so they overcorrect and they come across as too hard as a leader. And it's finding that balance between getting results as a leader in the organization or as a person, even if you're not in a formal level leadership position, the principles still apply. And then also balancing that with relationships. And that can be a balance. It can be a delicate balance, but very powerful when we learn to develop our skills relative to that and increasing our leadership over time. So looking forward to the next several episodes as we dig into that and we'll be talking about 30 characteristics of very successful women. Until next time.